Hi there, welcome to my studio in Cornwall. So today I'll be painting a landscape. And I'm just roughly putting in where I want everything to be, the sky and the fields and the foreground. And so I start by putting some dark colours into the sky. Colours I'm using today are cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, black, cream, white, yellow, lemon yellow and pale yellow, and burnt umber and raw sienna. I'm also using a beautiful violet. So for the darkest colour I'm using in the sky, I use ultramarine, black and cerulean blue. And I mix these colours together until I get a beautiful midnight blue. And I add just a little bit of cream on the horizon where I want the sky to be lighter. And it gives me a sort of smoky grey blue. So I very rarely use stark white. I use cream, and I make the cream by mixing a lot of white with a little tiny bit of raw sienna. And here I'm using a lovely peach colour that I make from using the cream and a bit more raw sienna. And it looks a little bit dark at the moment because of what I had on my brush originally, but I'll lighten that now to get a lovely peach colour. And I'll keep adding layers to that peachy area until I get the exact shade that I'm looking for. And here I'm putting a lovely plum colour into the sky, and I made that with using black and violet. So at this point I'm just trying to get a lot of layers onto my canvas. And so I'm starting to put in some paint where the fields are going to be. And I mixed a really nice green, yellowy green, with lemon yellow, touch of black, just a touch of black, and some cream, and a little bit of burnt umber. And it's made a very nice green. And I can lighten that with the cream as I go. So in this area, I'm trying to lighten that area because I need it light to put in some trees later. And I just added some cream to the green that I had before. And you might have realised that all the colours that I use are mixed. I know I've said this before in other videos, but just for new people, new subscribers, every colour that I used is mixed. I don't use colours from tubes. I think this makes the painting. So I've established the fields, and now I'm putting in the hedgerows. What are going to be the hedgerows? I'm just using a burnt umber and black to make them quite dark. I'm deliberately making these hedgerows irregular shapes. They're not, straight. And I'm just using my finger to do this. I'm putting the paint on with a brush, and then I'm using my finger to create irregular shapes. All this helps to make it look impressionist and not contrived. So you can use your fingers just to give impressions of bushes and things and hedgerows, and it looks a little bit more loose. So all my paintings, I put things in and take things out and change things, change the sky, I change the trees, and just keep adding layers, and it all helps to give a lovely impressionist painting at the end of the day. So as I paint, I change things. I paint over things, I add things, I add layers and layers, and you'll see that this is what I'm doing here. I'm adding more of that beautiful peach colour. I want it to stand out, I want it to be bright. So I've just put another layer over. You can just keep going and going with these paintings, and that's the beauty of them. And each time you expose what is underneath, maybe, and it all adds to the ambience of the painting. And so you've probably realised by now that I don't just paint one area and it stays that way. It doesn't. It's layers and layers, and each layer is exposing the layer underneath. And that is how I create my skies and my whole painting really, but especially the skies. And I probably go over this sky, I don't know, several times. The dark, I've gone over several times. I'll go over again. And the peach, I will go over and over until I like what I see. When I do my painting workshops, my tuition here in my studio in Cornwall, quite often it's a one-on-one with my student, and they learn the importance of the layers and layers, and they see for themselves what a beautiful effect it makes to do layers and expose layers underneath. So I'm starting to put in some trees in the far distance, or the impression of trees, and I'm just letting the sky dry. So I work on this other area so that the sky can, that peachy colour that I put in there can dry. And if you hear some bangs and knocks, it's seagulls that are landing on the roof. And because we're right on the coast, so there's nothing I can do about it, I'm afraid. Try and record in between the seagulls landing. So I'm putting in these trees, and later I'll show you how to sort of fade them down a little bit so that they look as if they're in the distance, because things that are in the distance are lighter than the trees that are in the foreground. So I've got my lovely peachy lights that's on the left hand side, and now I'm going to start to highlight it. And I put a little bit of highlight in and add some more later in the video. And for these highlights, I use a cream. I very rarely use white. I use a cream that I mix with white and just a little touch of raw sienna. And that makes a lovely cream if you just a little tiny tad of it. It just takes the white into just a very light cream colour. And here I'm just using a damp cloth to soften the cloud. And you see what a lovely effect that has. It's made it very soft and blended. I'm still in the initial stages, really, of this painting. There's more layers to go yet. And so I decide to add another cloud layer. So I'm just putting in a tree in the foreground, and they have to be sort of worked on. You have to just keep going until you are happy with the results. You can put several colours into the tree. I usually start with a nice olive green and then add some um, raw umber and some black and possibly some paler green. But you just have to really experiment until you get a nice shape and you're happy with it. So I'll keep working on trees, but meanwhile I'll just put in a fence, the impression of a fence running along that hedgerow there. And you don't have to have your fence posts straight, you can just angle them slightly so that they look old and as if they've been there a long time. So I just keep working on the foreground a little bit and adding some darks into the hedgerow. So here I'm just putting some spatter onto the foreground to look like little stones and bits and pieces and grasses and things. And I just do that by putting some paint on a brush and flicking it across my finger, aiming at the painting so that you get all kinds of little marks and spatter marks. So I've been working on the foreground a little bit, and I've changed the trees, or the tree, and added another one, and put some darks um, into the foreground. So I hope you've enjoyed the painting, and the channel can be supported by super thanks or simply by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And with that, I'll say bye for now, and as always, love from Cornwall.